Well, that was a pretty wild game, Rube.
It was a wild game. It was an ugly game. It was a game I feel like the Eagles should have won.
Yeah, that was my lasting thought in this game is like, man, they had this right there. They should have the number one seed locked up, and they blew it. They lose 40-34. This is the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. Reuben, Frank, Dave, Zangaro. A lot to get to from this game, but I think that's the big takeaway, Rube, is they had this with their backup quarterback, a chance to beat the Cowboys on Christmas Eve, and just too many mistakes to overcome.
Yeah, and mistakes on both sides of the ball, mistakes that are uncharacteristic for this team, mistakes that a team that has true Super Bowl aspirations can't make. I just can't make them. And look, I still think they're going to get the top seed. I think they're going to blow out the Saints, whether Jalen comes back or not. But they made things a lot more difficult for themselves than they need to be. When you're up 10
twice.
Up 10 twice, up 10 early, and then up 10 in the third quarter. You just don't blow that lead. This is 4 times they've blown a 10-point lead in AT&T Stadium in the last 10 years. Obviously, different teams, different coaches, different players, but you can't really overcome the Cowboys. They haven't swept them since 2011. They've lost 5 straight down there in North Texas. It's your biggest rival. And it's a team that is challenging you for NFC supremacy among a couple others. You have a chance to stomp on their faces and clinch this thing tonight. You got to take advantage of it. They came up small.
Yeah, the Eagles are a better team than the Cowboys, and they didn't play like it. And that's the most frustrating thing. And I'm going to leave AT&T Stadium tonight thinking, man, if Jalen Hurts plays, they blow them out. But they had a chance to win with Gardner Minshew. And Gardner, we'll talk about him in a little bit. He was okay. He did enough to win. It was just these mistakes compounded, 4 turnovers. I mean, they've had 4 turnovers in the Washington game they lost. So in their 2 games they lost, I mean, this isn't tough to figure out. 8 turnovers. I mean, you can't do it. You can't win games like that.
Yeah, and they had they're plus 19 in their wins and minus 6, I believe, in their losses. I mean, yeah, they're better than Washington. They're better than Dallas. We talked about this during the season. Like, they were on such a roll as far as both takeaways and protecting the ball that you knew they couldn't keep going at that rate. That because regression to the mean is a real thing. It's eventually, and it sure doesn't help having Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on the sideline either. But I think any one of those 4 turnovers, loose balls on the ground bouncing, right in front of, I think it was Jack Driscoll. There was another fumble right at Linval Joseph, I thought had landed on, but both recovered by the Cowboys. Just make one of those plays, and you win.
Was that on the Reddick strip sack?
Yeah. Yeah. Never did see a replay. This is brutal trying to watch these games on TV, Dave, because you just don't get replays. You just like these huge plays, like on that last Dallas touchdown, the second to last Dallas touchdown, the clock had expired. I mean, there's no time left, and they snapped the ball with zeros. They never showed it, never talked about it, never mentioned it. I'm stuck in the studio. I can't, after 35 years in the press box, it's really frustrating.
Well, I don't have power in the press box to get replays either, if it makes you feel any better.
Yeah, it does. But in any case, so many points in this game that one play wins the game. One play puts it out of range. If Avante finishes that sack on Dak, they're punting from inside the 50 down 10. Eagles get the ball. They scored up 17. They're not losing that game. And they scored on every possession almost, or turned it over. So a lot of chances to put that game away. They just never did. And against some teams, you can get away with that. Against the Colts or the Titans or the Giants, you get away with that. But against Dallas in their building, you can't.
Yeah, we knew the margin for error in this game was slim to none. And yeah, to have those mistakes, even when they had the ball, you think they're going to win. You're like, man, these mistakes are going to bite them. And it did. And look, even with all those mistakes, you kind of had a feeling maybe they're going to pull this out. They're driving late in the game. And we'll talk about Devontae Smith in the positivity corner at the end. But, I mean, he's making some spectacular catches. They get inside the red zone. They had a chance to erase it all, and they still couldn't do it. frustrating loss.
Yeah, and got a little banged up, and that's certainly cause for concern. 4 turnovers led to 20 points for Dallas. So 4 short fields. So let's say the Eagles just get a field goal and a touchdown on those 4 turnovers. That's 10 points, puts them at 44, and you take away 20 from Dallas. They win 44-20, and that's being conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Turnovers killed them.
Yeah. And Dallas did them a favor, I thought, late in the game, kicking a field goal in that tight red zone area. I would have gone for it if I were McCarthy. I thought that did them a favor. It gave them the ball with not backed up, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely agree. But they win despite him.
They do sometimes. To me, what's a bigger headline for you? Is it the turnovers or the 3rd and 30 is hard to get over?
Yeah, I think they're kind of equal. I mean,
somewhere Jim Schwartz is going, 4th and 15 wasn't good, but it wasn't 3rd and 30.
Just can't happen. I'm sure you did the same thing. I looked on the Play Finder where you can look up conversions by down and distance. The longest 3rd down conversion on record against the Eagles, I think it goes back to 94, right?
Yeah, we both looked it up, I'm sure, at the same time.
So, 30 years and just can't happen. I don't care who's hurt. I don't care. It just, that flat out can't happen, period.
Yeah, and look, we can take Jonathan Gannon to task a little bit for this game. That was just, to me, and look, I don't, it's hard to assign blame without knowing exactly what happened. To me, it looked like Josiah Scott was just late getting there. Slay, I thought, did his job. He had trail coverage. I thought he could have been a little tighter maybe. But, man.
He also slowed down.
Yeah.
Which I don't get. But, I mean, Josiah Scott's in there for Maddox, and he's not Avonte Maddox. But I don't care. Look, if you're in the league, and if that was on Josiah Scott, if you're in the league, you can't let it happen. I don't care if you've never played before. And I'll tell you what, the guy who caught the ball hadn't played before. I mean, he just
got there at T.Y. Hill, and
first game.
He doesn't know. I mean, he might not know the offense. They told him to go run and go, and he did it.
Yeah, inexcusable, just mind-boggling.
Yeah, and so it's funny. I look at coaching in this game. I thought.
I'll answer your question. The turnovers bother me more.
Okay.
Turnovers bother me more.
And so the two of the picks from Gardner Minshew both went on passes to Quez Watkins, probably too heavily involved in key situations. The second one was kind of a weird play. I watching it live, I thought, did he come up with that football? And then no, it got wrestled away. That's not the strength of his game. Letting him try to use strength to I mean, that's not what you want there in that situation. The Boston Scott fumble, well, I guess that they charged it to Gardner. It looked like just a miscommunication in the exchange. I know some people talked to Boston after the game. I was not there for that, so I didn't hear his explanation for it. But that just looked like miscommunication. And the Miles was just a fumble. I mean, it was just a bad fumble. Give him credit. He raised his hand, took ownership for it, but it can't happen.
Yeah, that's a couple for him after being turnover free all year, a couple in the last 2 weeks. The Quez ones bothered me the most because that's just, you're right. That's not his strength. That's not where he should be deployed. I mean, if he's not running a go route, there's just no reason to have him out there in a high leverage situation. But come on, he's been in the league 3 years now. He's got to learn to be stronger to the ball. He's got to learn to fight a cornerback, to compete for the ball and not let the cornerbacks play him. He was probably interfered with on the first one. Dude was draped all over him, but you still got to be strong to the ball.
Yeah, we just got to knock it down.
Yeah, and he's so passive on those, and it's been an issue with him since he's been here. Look, he's really great making big plays once in a while, but it's not worth it if he's costing you a game.
Yeah. Dak Prescott, and look, I know it's kind of oversimplifying to just say zone or man, but he killed the Eagles in zone coverage. This is next-gen stats. Completed all 24 of his passes against zone coverage for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. The end of the game, completing 77% of his passes. And this is kind of what I was worried about in this game was, I mean, what kind of game plan is it going to be? Are they going to kind of let him carve them up and down the field? That's what he did. And it wouldn't have mattered if they got off the field. And, I mean, it wouldn't have looked pretty. They would have won the game. But, this was kind of a little bit again reverting to what we saw last year, and I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's fair. And the thing that was surprising to me is that the Eagles actually did a good job against Dallas's running game. And
they did.
They like to throw off the running game. And, I mean, gosh, Pollard was what? 9 for 19. Zeke was 16 for 55. No, I mean, they combined for like under 3 yards a carry, and Dak was still able to be really, really effective throwing the ball. Excuse me. The Eagles had 6 sacks, but I thought there was long stretches where I was surprised to see that final number.
It's hard for me to kill them. They had back-to-back sacks to set up a 3rd and 30, and they don't get off the field.
No, you're right. I shouldn't even phrase it that way. You're right. They got more. I mean, nobody's had 6 sacks against that O-line or that team. But Dak just made some great throws.
Yeah, he's going to do that. I mean, he's a good quarterback, so he's going to make some of those throws. You got to do enough other stuff to beat him, and they didn't do it.
No doubt. Yeah. I mean, and he's been a problem for this team. What is he now? 7-1 in his last 8 starts against him with 17 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. I mean, he's good, but he's not that good. Against this team, he's Joe Montana.
Yeah, 6 sacks, and the defensive line scored a touchdown. We'll get to that in the positivity corner, but I have a hard time faulting them for that game because they stuffed them in the run. They got sacks. I thought they picked on the linebackers a little bit with the tight end and with some of those Pollard plays. And then the secondary, I mean, losing Avonte Maddox in this game, and we talked about it on the Thursday pod. That was one of my biggest matchups in this game was CeeDee Lamb against Avonte Maddox in the slot. Once Maddox went down, man, it's a big drop-off from him to Scott. And this is the 3rd significant injury Maddox has had this year.
Yeah, and I mean, he's a really good player when he's healthy, but he's had a lot of injuries his whole career. He was a small guy playing a very physical position. And, I mean, long-term, I think it's something they're going to have to look at because they need him out there, or they need a backup slot who they can rely on more than Josiah Scott. Josiah Scott's a good story, and he picked off Aaron Rodgers. Good for him, but he's been brutal. I mean, he really has.
He's been disappointing. I thought there was something there. I was kind of bullish on him in training camp, and man, it's been rough watching. And look,
I think the more he's had to play, the more he's kind of come back down to earth.
Yeah, Blankenship a little bit too in this game. They were targeting the middle of the field for a reason. They without CJ and without Avonte, I mean, that's where they were going. You have Slay and Bradbury outside. That's the wise thing to do is you target the middle of the field with Schultz and with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, CeeDee Lamb had 100 yards in the first half.
Yeah, I still think Slay doesn't look quite right. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with him, if he's hurt or whatever, but he's just seems to be out of plays more than we're used to seeing. He has Bradbury and Slay have 0 interceptions the last 7 games, which is really surprising.
Bradbury had a shot at one today.
Bradbury?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
He knocked it down. I thought he had a chance to pick it.
Yeah. There were so many of those moments where, and that's really the way it's been. I mean, you look at the Washington game, you look at this game, it's a really similar pattern where they had opportunities and just didn't take advantage of them. This is a really, from a defensive standpoint, this is a really discouraging performance because, I mean, look, yes, Dallas had 4 short fields. I mean, 4 of their scoring drives were they got the ball inside midfield. But still, make a play. I don't know. Make a play, recover a fumble, get that interception. They were just leaky.
Yeah, it was tough. At 20 points off of turnovers, you'd like to see them not give up touchdowns on those. I think they gave up touchdowns on the first 2.
Yeah,
on the 2 picks,
and then field goals on the next 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean that was good at the end to see them holding the field goals because that kept them in the game. It gave them a chance to. I mean, they had the ball with a chance to go down and win the game. So give them credit for that. They held them to a field goal. They got that after the fumble. They got the ball on the Philly 21-yard line, held them to a field goal. So, I mean, that was good. But you're right. There were moments in that game where the defense did not live up to its reputation, at least.
Yeah, no question about it. 3 turnovers on the Eagles' last 5 drives. Come on, that's
it's amazing. The Cowboys finished 8 for 15 on third downs. Aside from the 3rd and 30, which, other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, they were pretty good in the second half. They were awful in the first half. 6 of 8, the Cowboys were on third downs. And that's the shame of it. The Eagles really shored that up in the second half, and then they just gave up that backbreaker.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought they'd really kind of turn things around. Those first couple Dallas drives of the second half, they seemed to be kind of figuring some things out, but it wasn't meant to be.
I got to rewatch this game because my head is spinning a little bit. That was a lot.
There was a lot. And look, as many things went wrong, if those 4 turnovers don't happen, they win this game going away.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, easily in Dallas. So to lose by 6 with 4 turnovers and your backup quarterback in Dallas against a team with the second best record or third best record, whatever it is in football, I mean, you got to like where they are, but still.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. You can take that one of two ways. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's a positive. But on the other hand, it's like, you got to be sick about that.
Oh, yeah. There's no question. I'm just trying to rationalize it, I guess.
Yeah.
I did some turnover stats real quick. I jotted these down. In the Eagles, listen to this, Dave. In the Eagles' first 8 games, they were plus 15 in turnover ratio, turnover margin, 15 more than 15 more takeaways than turnovers. They had 18 takeaways and 3 turnovers.
Okay.
In the last 7 games, they're minus 6 in turnover margin. They've got 8 takeaways, down from 18 in 8 games, 8 in 7 games, and they've committed 14 turnovers in 7 games. So they've gone from 3 in 8 games to 14 in 7 games. And that's scary. And look, you're not going to – they were at a pace that was unsustainable for the whole year, but I didn't think – we talk about regression of the mean. I didn't think –
Remember when Nick Sirianni and Jonathan Gannon looked at us like we were crazy for asking if it was sustainable?
Right. Yeah, I mean, what are they going to say? But and the Eagles have done a nice job keeping points down and winning games without those takeaways, which is not easy to do. They won 5 straight before today without really having a bunch of takeaways and while they were committing a bunch of turnovers. So other than the Packers game, they had a couple picks, but it caught up to them against a good team on the road. And that's scary going into the playoffs. Now, you hope they would have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back. We don't know about Maddox. We don't know about any of the injured guys, but that's a hallmark of this defense. With this pass rush, that's the crazy thing. With the way they've been rushing, you would think there'd be more takeaways, more strip sacks, more interceptions, but a couple balls bouncing around that they just didn't get, and a couple of interception opportunities they just didn't get. And that's the way it's been the last period of time. They've got to turn that around.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's the Nissan Thrill of the Drive event, so gift yourself what you really want this holiday season and shop your local Nissan store or visit nissanusa.com today. Just like the holidays, these offers won't last.
Opioid addiction is a national public health crisis. The Someone You Know podcast from the Independence Blue Cross Foundation offers inspiring stories that challenge stigma, offer hope, and humanize the disease of addiction. Download the new Season 3 of Someone You Know on all major podcast platforms. All right, Rube. Gardner Minshew, what did you think of his game? I thought there were some good things. I thought there was some not so good things. But overall, I mean, he did enough for them to win this game, right?
Yeah, I can't ask for anything more from a backup quarterback. I really can't. Against that team, that pass rush in that stadium, I don't put either interception on him. Maybe the first one, but certainly I think they're both on Quez, honestly. If anything,
maybe a little on the decision to go to Quez in that spot.
Yeah. But he shouldn't even be out there. I'd rather have Auden Tate out there, honestly, at this point. I'm really over Quez. But yeah, I mean, I thought, look, he didn't put up 34 points. He put up 27. Easily could have been a lot more if not for the turnovers. I really felt like he was going to make a play, get the ball in the end zone there at the end. Made some great throws, man. He was really, really good on third down, and fourth down. Obviously, at one point he was. I didn't update it. He was like 9 for 10 for 110 yards on third and fourth, for 109 yards, 2 touchdowns on third and fourth down. Can't ask for anything more than that.
Yeah, on that the last touchdown drive, they were fantastic on third down. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 6, and 3rd and 7 for the touchdown on that drive. It was great. That 3rd and 10 was his best play of the day.
Yeah, they converted 2 3rd and 10s, a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 7, and 2 3rd and 6s. Mm-hmm. Those aren't easy plays for a guy who hasn't played in a year.
He makes you a little nervous in the pocket. He's a little spastic, like feeling pressure, bouncing around, just, head down, moving around, but it kind of worked.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny when he starts to run, you're like, yeah. And then you're like, oh, he's not Jalen. Like,
he's not Jalen. Yeah. Guys catch up pretty quick.
Yeah, they do. You kind of learn to appreciate just how quick, how effective Jalen is at that. But there's not much else I could ask for. The Quest stuff, whoever's fault it was, those plays have to go. But he kept them in the game against a lot of odds. 4 turnovers. Your odds of winning when you commit 4 turnovers are it's about a 5% chance. So to do it on the road against a team fighting for a number 1 seed, that's a tough ask. But I'm okay with his performance.
Yeah, and it really did feel like they had a chance to march down at the end and win that game. Dak made a big mistake going out of bounds, stopping the clock before the 2-minute warning. It gave the Eagles, what did they have the ball with? Minute
they got
41?
Ball 141, yeah.
With a timeout on their own 25.
Plenty of time.
Yeah, plenty of time, and they marched it down. They had a burn first down on the clock. Then he throws the ball in the back of the end zone to Devontae. Yeah, not a bad idea. I would have thrown it to Devontae too.
Yeah, he was incredible. He was just incredible today. Parsons, there was a lot of pressure on the last 2. I think Driscoll. It's just tough. The guy hasn't played. They really missed Lane on that last sequence there, and that's where the pressure came from.
Yeah, don't know any status on Lane. He was walking around the locker room, so obviously that's the biggest one to watch out for after this game. You hope he's going to be okay because, I mean, you can't. You need Lane Johnson. He's still one of your best players. Jordan Davis has a concussion, so we'll see when he's able to come back. I know concussions are serious, but at least we have a relative timetable in mind when a guy gets a concussion. Avonte Maddox, we'll see. He had a walking boot on his left leg in the locker room. That's a big loss if they're going to miss him. Now, the good thing is if they can lock up this number 1 seed, you have a little bit more time for him to heal.
Yeah, that's why it's really imperative they do it. They do it Sunday at the Link, and I think they will.
If they don't do it Sunday, you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself in Week 18.
Unless the Cowboys lose to the Titans, which I don't.
Well, you would need Cowboys to lose a game. You need the Vikings to lose a game, and you need the 49ers to lose a game, right?
That's true. Yeah.
So it's a lot to ask. They had it right in front of them tonight.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go into the last day of the season having to beat the Giants again. I get that they just scored 48 against them, but you don't want to be in that position. I think they'll take care of business on Sunday.
Who do you think the quarterback is?
I think it's Hurts.
Do you?
I do.
I think right now I'm leaning Minshew. We'll see. I mean, I know they said Jalen was close this week. I think that was a little bit of gamesmanship trying to force Dallas into preparing for both. And I'm sure they'll do the same thing. I'm sure they'll do the same thing this week. We'll really learn on Wednesday if he's out there at practice, whether or not if he's got a chance. I mean, you would think a week and a half after the injury, if you're not able to practice on a Wednesday, then it's kind of in doubt at that point.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say if he's not practicing Wednesday, it's almost, I wouldn't say 100%, but pretty close that he won't start against the Saints. But you know what? From what I saw of Minshew today, he can beat the Saints. And
I think so. Yeah.
they're what are they, 1-6 on the road? They got a pretty good defense, but in that stadium, in the link, the home field, home fans, I like the Eagles' chances against what are they, 6-9 team?
Mm-hmm. Still in the playoff hunt, right?
Yeah, they are.
Because that division is awful.
Yeah, I like the Eagles' chances, but yeah, if they don't take care of it Sunday, then then it gets a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, you don't want to go into that last game of the season needing it for a lot of reasons, but yeah, you want to avoid that. Positivity corner?
Sure.
Devontae Smith is a freaking stud.
Unbelievable. He made some catches today that he made a bunch of them that just defied Bill. I told Jaws on postgame show, you might have been Mike Quick today. Physical and graceful and athletic, crazy athleticism. I was blown away. I mean, I still think A.J. Brown is he's on another level, but today Devontae was just out of this world.
Devontae was the best player on the field today.
I agree.
I thought. I mean, he was just some of the catches that he's so tough, man. That catch late in the game that set them up in the red zone, he skied for that one. He went over 1,000 today.
That was incredible. Yeah, he's got 79 catches, and A.J. Brown has 80. Brown's got 1,304 yards. Devontae has 1,014. First time they've ever had 2,000-yard receivers, and they got 17 touchdowns between them. I mean, the one was probably the easiest touchdown of Devontae's life. That was a great play. That play action,
unbelievable play call.
Yeah,
they knew Trayvon Diggs was gonna be super aggressive. They got him on the sluggo too earlier in the game. A.J. Brown,
right?
Yeah,
right. Yeah, they're. I mean, and the great thing about it is they're both young. I mean, Devontae's what, 24? A.J. Brown's 25. Mm-hmm. They're both here for the long term. They're both signed. There's a lot of free agents on this team. Those guys are here, and Jalen's going to be with them moving forward. So, yeah, that's certainly at the top of the Dave's positivity corners. Devontae Smith. He's so good. And, I'll tell you what, I think he's really raised his game over the last maybe 6 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
He's really, really playing well.
Yeah, he's a number one receiver who happens to be a number 2 on this team, or 1A, we'll say.
Yeah, I think I'm okay with 1A.
Yeah. Got anything else for positivity corner?
How about Josh Sweat? You mentioned the pick 6. Longest interception returned by an Eagles defensive lineman since Jaquay Parker's 55-yarder against the 49ers in 2008. But, he's now got, what do you have, a sack and a half? Mm-hmm. He's now got a career-high 11. So they got 3 guys. Reddick has 14. Sweat's got 11.
And BG got a half. So
BG got a half.
They're a Brandon Graham sack away from being the first team in NFL history with 4 10-sack guys.
1 sack for BG the last 2 games will get him over. I have a feeling he'll get it. He might have to play every snap against the Giants to do it, but I think he'll get it. They did become the first team in NFL history to have 6 sacks in 4 straight games.
Wow.
Which is something. Look, this team can pressure as well as anybody I've seen in a long, long time. Gosh, how many sacks do they have now? 61. Believe the franchise record is 62 from the 89 team. So they're going to blow that out of the water.
And they'll be able to do it in 16 games.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine what they're going to do in 17 games. Matt Leo get his 3 against the Giants. And, what do you got for positive? Anything else?
I just want to go back to the Sweat interception. There aren't many guys who can make that play.
Yeah, right.
I mean, what an athletic play. And then, Dak had no chance to try to tackle him.
And it was tremendous reaction time and instinct. I mean, how far was he from Dak?
Not far.
That's the ball 99% of guys just knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
And he just grabbed it and went. It was tremendous.
He said he was tired before he caught the ball. So he was gassed after.
There was nobody near him. It was a great play. Gave him a 10-0 lead, their first of two. But what a year he's having! 11 sacks, a pick six. Really.
Fourth round pick
Finally, really paying off in a big way. Can't believe he's not a Pro Bowler, but maybe somebody won't be able to go and he'll go. But he's certainly having a career year.
On a note on that too, it might not. I mean, if the Eagles are in a Super Bowl, he won't go. But Aaron Donald ruled out for the rest of the year, so that might be Javon Hargrave's spot.
Although, can you play flag football with an injury? I don't know how that's going to work, and we don't even know. We don't know for sure that Hargrave's the first alternate. I would guess he is. He kind of has to be, right?
Yeah.
I got to look something up. So just buy some time. Give me another positivity.
I'll go with the O-line. I mean, that's a really good defensive front from Dallas. No sacks from Minshew. We got some pressure here and there, but I mean, you're not going to stop them on every single play. To hold Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and Dorrance Armstrong to no sacks and minimize their pressure. I thought the O-line did a nice job. Okay,
so yeah, I agree. Gosh, you just hope Lane's okay. 12 sacks for 11.5 for Sweat. Is that what I said?
He's 11.
11. The most by an Eagles draft pick since Trent Cole had 12.5 in 2009. They haven't drafted, all their best pass rushers have been free agent type guys, whether it's, Barwin or Babin or Hugh or Reddick, Fuller. You have to go back before that. Andy Harmon, he was an interior lineman, 6th-round pick. And then it goes to Clyde Simmons. I mean, they haven't had a lot of draft picks hit double digits in sacks. So, yeah, that's pretty special for a 4th-round pick to do it.
Anything else for Positivity Corner that I'm missing?
No, I think we kind of covered it. One thing we didn't talk about, I was really surprised the Eagles weren't able to run the ball better against Dallas, who's not very good stopping the run. They committed to it. They did it 29 times.
Yeah.
They just never really got going. And I think the presence of Jalen makes it a lot easier to run the ball with your backs. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. But I thought they would be better. The Jaguars ran for $192 last week. Mm-hmm. The Eagles have a better running game than Jacksonville.
Yeah, and there were times where Miles was picking up big chunks, and then there were a lot of no gain.
Yeah, I would like to see a little more Gainwell. I thought he had a little something. He's got that quickness. I thought might have been a good matchup.
Or I am going to tell him not to jump at the goal line.
Yeah, that was it. Don't jump at the 5-yard line. I was glad to see Gainwell involved in the passing game a little bit. He was 4 for 41.
2-minute drill. He got some action.
Yeah, and he caught the ball, that was the big kind of concern. He was dropping everything in training camp, but when you have your backup quarterback out there who doesn't run, isn't mobile, guys like the tight end and the backs are big weapons. Goddard didn't have big numbers, 3 for 67, not big volume, but man, he had some monster plays in there. A couple of those catches and runs.
Yeah, 3 targets, by the way, though. I know this is supposed to be Positivity Corner. I mean, 5 targets for Quez, 3 for Goddard. I know sometimes it's the way the game flows. Try to force it to flow to Dallas Goedert and not Quez Watkins.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't noticed 5 targets. The last 2 games, they've just tried to get Quez involved, and it just really bad results.
1 catch for 19 yards, 5 targets. 2 of those targets were intercepted. It seems like they're forcing the ball to Quez and bad things are happening. And I know that's oversimplifying it, but, if you're going to force it to someone, force it to Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown.
2 interceptions, 1 catch. He's -1, -1 plus minus, yeah, that's a good point. I've had enough of Quez for a while. I know he's a deep threat, but you used a phrase, I think, last year talking about Jalen Reagor. He makes losing plays. He makes plays that don't just not help you win, but help you lose. And I felt that way about Quez tonight.
Yeah, he's not to that level. Obviously, you'd like to see him fight for the ball harder.
Yeah.
There are moments where you're like, Quez, what are you doing? Like, whether it's rounding off a route or not fighting for a football. There are those plays for sure. It's not every play like it was with Rager.
No, that's fair. But
And you get positive out of Quez.
There's a reason he was a 6th-round pick, and I think we're seeing it.
Yeah. Man, we're supposed to end on positivity corner.
Give
me one more. Let's end on a positive.
One more positive. Brett Kern's really well rested.
Yeah, no punts for the punter, huh?
No punts.
What was there, like one punt all game?
Yeah, Brian Anger had the only punt, 57 yards. Might be the highest combined average by both punters in a game ever.
That's fair. He booted that ball. Didn't hit the scoreboard, which is always tough here.
Oh, you know what? Here's a way to end positivity. Did you see the video? We might have talked about this of Jeremy Reeves, former Eagle.
Yeah, I showed you that.
Bowl.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Ron Rivera kind of giving him the news, and he's a guy that's been cut like 30 times. He's one of those guys who's just, been on the practice squad for years. He was here for a year, got in a couple games, made the Pro Bowl as a special teamer, and the emotion he showed when Ron gave him the news. You got to see the video. It's all over the place, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. Check it out. It'll make you feel good on a holiday weekend.
Yeah, and don't let this game ruin your Christmas, your holidays. Eagles have 2 more games to win one of them and get the top seed, and maybe in a month we'll forget this ever happened.
You think the Eagles will see Dallas again?
I don't know. I think you'd feel pretty good if they do, though.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. If you enjoy the Eagle Eye Podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. We appreciate everyone. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. We'll talk to you later in the week. For Reuben, I'm Dave. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan.